TV soap news and spoilers say that the wind howled through the skeletal branches of the ancient oaks lining the road to Fairmont Crest, a small, fog-shrouded town nestled in the shadow of the Blue Ridge Mountains. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and pine, a familiar perfume that stirred something deep within Izaiah Hawthorne as his weathered pickup truck rumbled over the uneven pavement. It had been 10 years since he last set foot in this place, 10 years since he fled under the weight of a secret so heavy it threatened to crush him. Now, at 32, Izaiah was back, his heart pounding with a mix of dread and determination. Fairmont Crest was no longer just a town, it was a battlefield where he would confront the ghosts of his past and unearth the truth about his brother, Jacob. Izaiah Hawthorne was the black sheep of the Hawthorne family, a title he wore like a badge of dishonor. His father, Sheriff Elon Hawthorne, was a towering figure in Fairmont Crest, a man whose badge gleamed with authority and whose word was law. Elon's steely gaze could silence a room, and his expectations for his sons were as unyielding as the granite cliffs that loomed over the town. Jacob, the elder son, had been the golden child, charismatic, athletic, the heir apparent to their father's legacy. Izaiah, on the other hand, was the dreamer, the rebel, the one who asked too many questions and refused to bow to the weight of tradition. The rift between the brothers had grown over the years, a chasm widened by jealousy, misunderstanding, and a single, devastating event that changed everything. 10 years ago, Jacob Hawthorne was arrested for a crime that shook Fairmont Crest to its core. The details were murky, shrouded in whispers and half-truths. A young woman, Emily Carver, had been found dead in the woods near Banneker College, her body bruised and broken, her eyes staring blankly at the starless sky. Jacob was implicated, tried, and convicted with a speed that raised eyebrows even among the town's most loyal residents. The evidence was damning: Jacob's fingerprints on a knife, his jacket found near the scene, and a witness who swore they saw him arguing with Emily hours before her death. But Izaiah knew his brother, or thought he did. Jacob was no saint, but a murderer. The idea gnawed at Isaiah's soul, a splinter he couldn't extract. When Izaiah left Fairmont Crest a decade ago, it wasn't just to escape the suffocating grip of his father's expectations or the judgmental stares of the townsfolk. He carried a secret, one that burned like a coal in his chest, a truth about Jacob that could either exonerate him or damn him further. Izaiah had seen something that night, something he never told anyone, not even during the trial. It was a fleeting moment, a shadow in the woods, a voice that wasn't Jacob's. But fear and doubt had silenced him, and he fled to the anonymity of distant cities, hoping to outrun his guilt. Now, he was back, drawn by a job offer at Banneker College and a desperate need to finally face the truth. A return to Fairmont Crest. Isaiah's truck rolled to a stop in front of the Crestview Inn, a quaint but weathered establishment that had seen better days. The neon sign flickered, casting an eerie glow over the gravel lot. He stepped out, his boots crunching against the ground, and took a deep breath. The town hadn't changed much, same narrow streets, same faded storefronts, same air of quiet suspicion. But there was something different now, a tension that prickled at the back of his neck. People watched him from behind curtains, their eyes narrowing as they recognized the prodigal son. His interview at Banneker College was scheduled for the next morning, a position as a counselor in the Student Affairs office. It was a respectable job, one that would allow him to blend in while he pursued his true purpose. To uncover the truth about Jacob's crime and expose those who had helped bury it. Izaiah had spent years piecing together fragments of information, old newspaper clippings, court transcripts, and cryptic letters Jacob sent from prison. Each piece was a thread in a tangled web, leading him to believe that Jacob's conviction was not the open-and-shut case it appeared to be. Someone, or several someones, had ensured Jacob took the fall, and Izaiah was determined to find out why. The Crestview Inn's lobby smelled of stale coffee and mothballs. The clerk, an elderly woman with a pinched face, handed him a key without meeting his eyes. "Room 12, second floor," she muttered, her voice laced with disapproval. Izaiah nodded, ignoring the unspoken accusation. He was used to it by now, the way people in Fairmont Crest seemed to carry the weight of his family's scandal like a shared burden. As he climbed the creaking stairs to his room, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, not just by the townsfolk but by something darker, something that lingered in the shadows of this cursed place. The weight of secrets. That night, Izaiah sat on the edge of his bed, a manila folder spread out before him. Inside were the remnants of his investigation, a grainy photo of Emily Carver, smiling at a college event, a police report with key details redacted, a letter from Jacob, written in jagged, desperate scrawl. "You know I didn't do it, Iz. You were there. Why didn't you say anything?" The words cut deeper than any knife, and Isaiah's hands trembled as he read them again. He had been there, in the woods, that night. Not at the scene of the crime, but close enough to see something he shouldn't have, a figure moving through the trees, too tall to be Jacob, too deliberate to be a coincidence. He had heard a voice, low and menacing, but fear had rooted him to the spot, and by the time he found his courage, it was too late. Isaiah's secret was a double-edged sword. If he revealed what he saw, it could cast doubt on Jacob's guilt, but it would also expose his own cowardice, and possibly something worse. What if the figure he saw was someone powerful, someone connected to his father's circle of influence? Sheriff Izaiah Hawthorne was not a man to be crossed, and Izaiah had long suspected his father knew more about the case than he let on. The speed of Jacob's conviction, the lack of a thorough investigation, the way certain witnesses seemed to vanish, it all pointed to a cover-up, one that reached the highest echelons of Fairmont Crest's tight-knit community. The interview at Banneker. The next morning, Izaiah dressed carefully, choosing a navy blazer and a crisp white shirt to project an air of professionalism. Banneker College was a small liberal arts institution, its campus a mix of ivy-covered buildings and modern facilities. The Student Affairs Office was housed in a red brick structure with tall windows, and Isaiah's interview was with Dr. Margaret Klein, a no-nonsense administrator with a reputation for fairness. As he sat across from her, answering questions about his qualifications and his vision for student support, he couldn't help but scan the room for clues. A framed photo on the wall showed Dr. Klein with Sheriff Elon at a fundraiser, their smiles tight and practiced. Was she part of the cover-up? Or was she, like so many others, simply caught in the web? "Your resume is impressive, Mr. Hawthorne," Dr. Klein said, her eyes sharp behind her glasses. "But I must ask, why return to Fairmont Crest after so long? This town, it has a way of holding on to its past." Isaiah forced a smile, his heart racing. "I'm ready to come home," he said, the lie tasting bitter on his tongue. "I want to give back to the community, to help students navigate their challenges." Dr. Klein nodded, but her gaze lingered, as if she could see through his carefully constructed facade. "Very well," she said at last. "We'll be in touch." As Isaiah left the office, he felt a surge of adrenaline. The job was his ticket into the heart of Fairmont Crest, a chance to get close to the people who might hold the answers he sought. But it was also a dangerous game. Every step he took brought him closer to the truth, and to the people who would do anything to keep it buried. A town of whispers. Over the next few weeks, Isaiah settled into life at Fairmont Crest, renting a small apartment above a bookstore on Main Street. The job at Banneker was his by the end of the month, and he threw himself into his role with a zeal that surprised even himself. He counseled students, organized workshops, and attended faculty meetings, all while keeping his ears open for any mention of Jacob or Emily Carver. The town was a pressure cooker of secrets, and every conversation was laced with subtext. At the local diner, where waitresses served coffee with a side of gossip, Isaiah overheard snippets of conversation that hinted at unease. "Elon's been acting strange since that boy came back," one woman whispered. "You think he knows something?" her companion replied. Isaiah's father was unavoidable. Sheriff Izaiah Hawthorne's presence loomed over Fairmont Crest like a storm cloud, and their inevitable reunion was as tense as Isaiah had feared. It happened at the annual Harvest Festival, a garish affair of hayrides and pumpkin carving that masked the town's underlying unease. Elon approached Izaiah near the bonfire, his badge glinting in the firelight. "Didn't expect you to show your face here," he said, his voice low and gravelly. "I'm not here for you," Izaiah replied, his jaw tight. "I'm here for Jacob." Elon's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Izaiah thought he saw a flicker of fear. "Jacob made his bed," the sheriff said. "You do well to leave it alone." But Izaiah couldn't leave it alone. Every night, he pored over his notes, connecting dots that led to uncomfortable questions. Why had the coroner's report been sealed? Why had Emily's best friend, Clara, left town so suddenly after the trial? And what was the significance of the strange symbol carved into a tree near the crime scene, a symbol Izaiah had seen again, etched into the cornerstone of Banneker's oldest building? The truth draws near. As winter descended on Fairmont Crest, Izaiah's investigation intensified. He befriended Clara's younger sister, Lily, a student at Banneker who was eager to talk about the past. Lily revealed that Clara had been terrified before she left, claiming she knew something about Emily's death that could bring the whole town down. But Clara had vanished before she could share it, and Lily suspected she was hiding somewhere far away. Izaiah tracked Clara to a small town in Ohio, sending her a carefully worded letter that hinted at his intentions. To his surprise, she responded, agreeing to meet him in secret. The meeting was set for a snowy night in a diner just outside Fairmont Crest. Clara was a shadow of her former self, her eyes haunted and her hands trembling as she clutched a cup of coffee. "You don't know what you're digging into," she whispered. "It's bigger than Jacob, bigger than your father. There are people in this town who'll kill to keep their secrets." "Tell me," Izaiah urged, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his chest. "Who killed Emily?" Clara's eyes darted to the window, as if expecting to see someone watching. "It wasn't Jacob," she said at last. "But I can't say more. Not here." Before Izaiah could press her further, the diner's door swung open, and Sheriff Elon stepped inside, his presence filling the room like a thunderclap. Clara froze, her face pale, and Izaiah knew their time was up. "We'll talk again," he whispered, slipping her his number. But as he drove back to Fairmont Crest, his mind raced with possibilities. Was his father involved in Emily's death? Or was he protecting someone else, someone with enough power to orchestrate a cover-up? A dangerous revelation. The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source, an old journal Izaiah found in the college library's archives, tucked away in a dusty box labeled Banneker History. The journal belonged to a former professor, Dr. Samuel Reed, who had been obsessed with the town's history of strange occurrences. In it, Reed described a secret society that had operated in Fairmont Crest for generations, a group of powerful men who controlled the town's fate. The symbol Izaiah had seen, the one carved into the tree and the cornerstone, was their mark, a sign of their influence. Reed's final entry was chilling: "They know I'm close. If I disappear, look to the sheriff." Isaiah's blood ran cold. His father was at the center of it all, but was he a puppet or a puppeteer? Armed with this new knowledge, Izaiah confronted Elon at the sheriff's station, the air thick with tension. "I know about the society," Izaiah said, his voice shaking with anger. "I know about the cover-up. Did you frame Jacob to protect them?" Elon's face was a mask of stone, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of something, guilt, perhaps, or fear. "You're in over your head, boy," he said. "Walk away, or you'll end up like your brother." But Izaiah was done running. He had spent a decade haunted by his silence, and he would not let fear stop him now. As he left the station, he knew the truth was within reach, but so was danger. Someone was watching him, following him, and the closer he got to the truth, the more perilous his path became. The final stand. The climax came on a moonless night, when Izaiah followed a lead to an abandoned mill on the outskirts of town. Clara had sent him a cryptic message, promising to reveal everything. But as he stepped into the mill's crumbling interior, he realized he had walked into a trap. Figures emerged from the shadows, men in dark coats, their faces obscured, the symbol of the secret society glinting on their rings. At their center stood Sheriff Elon, his expression unreadable. "You should have listened," Elon said, his voice heavy with regret. "This town has rules, Izaiah. Rules you can't break." But Izaiah was no longer the scared boy who fled a decade ago. He had come too far, seen too much. "I'm not leaving until Jacob's free," he said, his voice steady. "And until everyone knows what you've done." What followed was a confrontation that would change Fairmont Crest forever. Secrets were laid bare, alliances shattered, and the truth about Emily's death came to light in a blaze of revelations. Jacob had been a scapegoat, framed to protect a member of the secret society, a man whose influence reached far beyond the town. But the cost of the truth was high, and Izaiah would have to decide how much he was willing to sacrifice to see justice done. As the first light of dawn broke over the Blue Ridge Mountains, Izaiah stood at the edge of Fairmont Crest, the weight of his secret finally lifted. The town would never be the same, and neither would he. Our TV channel Soap News and Spoilers is the place for those who want to know how the Salem story goes, as well as great Beyond the Gates updates and news, so subscribe to our channel to get what you want. Bye-bye.